over 20 years of experience in corporate IT, including a decade in leadership roles, integrating her background in yoga, meditation, and Ayurveda into her coaching approach. Certified by the J. Shetty Coaching School and holding an international postgraduate diploma in coaching and leadership development level 7 from OTHM. She also possesses advanced degrees in computer science and computer applications from a premier institute in India. An active LinkedIn influencer and lifelong explorer, she shares insights from her professional and personal journey to help others cultivate clarity, inner alignment, and new possibilities. That was an interesting bio, Jaspreet, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Melinda. That was a very sweet introduction. Really loved it. And it's great to hear before starting your session, right?
Thank you, thank
All
you.
right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today and welcome to my session where we will look at my journey from logic to alignment and how being here today as a speaker wasn't part of the plan. So let's see. Melinda, can we present my slide, the first page of it?
Yes, please. Yes, give me a minute, please.
Sure. All right. So this wasn't the plan, and here's my journey from logic to alignment. So let's see what my story is all about. If you told me a year ago that 1 year from now you would be speaking at a WYN event, I would ask you, what are you high on? Not because it was unfathomable, but because this wasn't the plan. Even though being a speaker one day was my wishful thinking, a secret wish, but not part of the plan. So this is not what I was pursuing. What I was doing instead was I was in corporate IT, neck deep into projects, deadlines, milestones, deliverables, long hours, endless work, stress, burnout, overwhelm, you name it. It was a mess. I was a mess. A mess I told myself there's no way out of. Even though my gut was telling me, you need to get out of this mess right now. Because my logical mind was telling me, no, you can't. And besides, what's your plan? You know how mind is always looking for a plan? But this time I was so burnt out, I just wanted to walk away without a plan this time. And why I say this time is because I had quit before, twice in fact. Once when I had another job at hand, as my mind would like, and another time when I was pregnant with my second child. But this time it was different. This time it was for me. And that reason wasn't good enough for my logical mind, even though every cell in my body was telling me to walk away and walk away now. This conflict went inside me not for very long, because I think at the subconscious level, it was going on for a while. You know how a baby grows in you and it takes 9 months, but how do you know when it's time for baby to come out? There are always triggers, there are signs. Your water breaks, you get a contraction, right? So, in my case, also, there were plenty of signs and triggers. It's just that I was ignoring them. But now I'd come to a place where I couldn't ignore the voice of my body anymore. It was getting louder and louder, more loud than the voice of my mind. And my body had seen what is the price of listening to the mind's voice all the time. And so this time, it was not suppressible anymore. And I had to honor the voice of my body. And so that's what I did. I made a promise with my mind. Hey, I need to take a break right now, but I promise you, I'll come back to IT when I'm ready again. And with that promise, I left. And now I was free to take care of my body. And so that's exactly what I did. I slept a lot. I ate well. I sat for hours doing nothing. And oh my God, that felt great. The burnout was such that still on Mondays I would get very anxious, even though there was no evident threat. It took my nervous system quite a few weeks to recover from it and get to a place where I felt alive again, where I felt present again. I was not eating my meals in a rush to log into my next meeting. I was able to finally enjoy my meals, my days, my moments, my life again with my family. This went on for a few weeks, and after a point, I realized that I have recovered a good lot. How do you think I knew that? There were signs. I was getting bored. And in that moment of boredom, I realized that, hey, now I can go to Devi consecration. For those of you who are not aware what a Devi consecration is, so Devi is a feminine form of energy, and consecration is the process of establishing that feminine form. And it's a process of 4 to 5 days, and this was happening in US Tennessee at Isha Institute of Inner Sciences. And it was a one in a lifetime opportunity. People from all over the world were coming to attend this event. And beginning of the last year, I so badly wanted to go to this event. But I knew that the kind of project I was in, there's no way I could take myself out for 5, 6 days. That was unthinkable. But now I was free. So I called them. It was a little last minute, but thankfully they had a spot. And so I made the arrangements and I was all set to go. But I took a pause here and I couldn't help but think, you know how they say what you seek is seeking you too? For me, going to the Devi consecration was my first conscious experience of that very thing. And I was in awe of that because I really wanted to go to this event, but my mind had told me, you can't. But here I was. Something had made it happen for me. And so my trust in alignment had started to build a little bit, or you can say I had started to get curious about it a little bit. The event was still a few weeks away, and as I had recovered, I knew I needed something to keep me busy in a meaningful way for a couple hours a day. I didn't know what that was, neither was I actively looking for it yet, but it came to me in the form of a reel. Jay Shetty's ad popped up on my Insta as I was scrolling through it one day, and he said, if you have these skills, you could become a coach. If not a coach, it's still a great course for personal development. And when I saw that, something in me got so excited and alive. And there came the voice of my logic, my mind, and it said, life coach, seriously, what do you know about life coaching? And so I dismissed it. A week or two went by, and that reel popped up again. This time, I didn't dismiss it, even though my mind came up with 5 good reasons on why I should pursue this course. So I made a deal with my mind. Listen, no harm in exploring, right? It could be a good course for my personal development, and it would be a very good value add for my IT resume for when I'm ready to go back, which is the plan I've made for you, correct? And that made sense to my logical mind. So my mind said, "All right, let's look at this." So I checked the details and everything, and within a week I was enrolled into this life coaching course. And as I was enrolling into this course, something in me was bursting with joy. I could tell the excitement. I didn't even know why I was so excited, but I was excited. So I started with this course with that excitement, that zeal. It was a great place to be. It was very supportive community. The mentors were great. I was meeting so many like-minded people. It was a very nourishing place to be emotionally and spiritually, and I was loving every single minute of it. During this program, I learned not only how to coach others, but also got the opportunity to unpack some of my own mental blocks, my own limiting beliefs, my perspective on social media, my relationship with money. The craft that I was learning here of life coaching felt like home, if that makes sense. Somewhere along this journey, it became clear to me that I wanted to pursue this as a full time profession. And again, as you know, this wasn't the plan. I was only looking for something to be busy for a couple hours a day, right? And this made me think of my driver when I got into IT 20 years ago. What was my driver then? I was an immigrant who came to US with her spouse. There was no family around and we didn't have smartphones back then. So I had a lot of time at my hands. So I was just looking for something to do, something that would keep me busy for a few hours a day. And that's how 20 years of my IT career started. And it was the same driver, something that would keep me busy for a couple hours a day, that had led me to this life coaching program. So I took a pause to think, what were the chances of that same driver being randomly showing up in my life again after 20 years? That's when I knew I was on the right track. That's when I knew this coaching could be the next chapter of my life. It was meant to be. As I was coming towards the completion of the course, it became clear to me that if I wanted to pursue this as a full time course, as a full time profession, social media is the go to marketing platform. But I was a social media skeptical. I was so hesitant of putting myself out there. And so I started working on this mental block of mine with another coach in the community. And as I was unpacking this block of mine, I had a client reach out to me and they wanted to work with me on something. During our discovery call, when I asked the client, what is it that you would like to work on? And they said, I want to overcome my hesitation of social media. And I was speechless for a moment because this was the same block I had. And I was working on this block of mine with another coach. And here is the client who wants to work with me as their coach on the same block they have. I was getting goosebumps seeing what was unfolding right in front of me, as this was my first time experience again of how what you seek is seeking you too, of how when you are aligned inside, mind, body, and energy, things also start to fall in place outside for you. So, as I was exploring various social media platforms for my marketing of the coaching business, Facebook, Instagram, and I was on LinkedIn when someone from WYN reached out to me to be a speaker at this event. And I thought of my secret wish, my wishful thinking to become a speaker. Remember, as I mentioned earlier, and how this was not the plan. I was not pursuing to be a speaker because this wasn't my plan. And yet, here I am. And that, my friends, is my journey from logic to alignment, from IT to coaching. I hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you. And now, Melinda, if we can go to the next slide, as I promised, let me walk you through a guided clarity workshop so you can experience firsthand what coaching can do for you. This workshop is about getting closer to what matters to you in 5 steps. And if you all have a pen and a paper, if you could grab a pen and a paper, that would be better. You could still do it on a notepad or a word pad on your laptop or whatever device you're joining through. But it would be good if you have a paper and pencil in your hand. So I'll give you a few seconds to gather around and then I'll go to the next step. Uh, okay, it's not very visible, but if everybody's ready, we are at the step 1 of our workshop, and it says the one thing. So now that you've heard of my story, I would like you to take a minute or two to think about what is that one thing that you have always wanted to do or recently have been thinking a lot about, but there's always something that takes priority. There's never time, there's never the energy to give to that purpose. What is that wish, that goal, that dream you have that you think about very frequently, but somehow have not been able to get to it? If you could write that goal, that wish, that dream on that piece of paper, and I'll give you 30 seconds or a minute to write that goal, and then we'll move on to the next step. So at 10:50, we will move to the next step, which is taking a pulse check on how likely are you to pursue that goal of yours on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being highly unlikely, 10 being highly likely. And if I can push the poll out. Melinda, is the poll published? Okay. I can see the poll. It's 3 to 4. It's 5. I see 6 to 7. Some people have it 8 to 9. So I want to make sure that everybody has understood the poll, that 1 is highly unlikely that you would pursue that goal, but 10 is very likely that you would pursue that goal today. All right, we are at 10:50, so we'll move to the next step of the exercise. Melinda, if we can go to the next slide, please. All right. Now here is you, and here is that one thing. That is your goal, your wish, your dream. It's something you want to do for yourself or something you want to do for somebody, whatever that is that you've written on that piece of paper. And here in the middle is the mountain, which is in the way. So now I want you to think of all the ifs and buts that come to mind when you think of that one thing, which is in your way right now, between you and that goal. So if you can write down on the paper in a separate line, what are all the ifs and the buts that come to your mind when you think of that goal that stop you from moving towards that goal? And I will give you 3 minutes to write those down. And I'm checking the chat if there are any questions. All right. Dr. Varel saying they're super confident and determined to pursue. That is awesome. We'll take another minute to write the ifs and buts that are in our way today to get closer to that goal. So at 10:53, we'll move on to the next step. All right. All right, it's 10:53. So we'll go to the next step of this workshop, which is now I want you to think of the reasons that you have listed in terms of real and imagined, whether this reason is real or is it imagined. And to give you an example of what I mean by real and imagined is, if you think of my mental block of putting myself out there on the social media, it was real in my mind, but it wasn't something that I didn't have the phone or I didn't have a laptop, so I couldn't access the social media. So If I didn't have the phone, I would put it as a real reason that, hey, I don't have a phone, or I don't have access to social media, or I don't have internet. So that is a real reason. But if everything is there, I have the resources, but it's just me and my mental blocks that's stopping me from it, that's imagined. So if you can mark each reason that you have listed that's keeping you away from your goal as which one is real, which one is imagined, and if you can write R next to the ones that you think are real for you, and I next to the ones that you think are imagined. And I'll give you a minute to do that. All right. Let's move on to the next step. And now, for all the reasons that you have listed, some are real, some are imagined, or whatever that may be for you. Now, I want you to take another lens and look at all the imagined ones, or the real ones too, and now categorize them as what do you think is in your control and what do you think is not in your control. And I want you to scratch all the ones that are outside of your control, keep the ones that are in your control. And I'll give you a minute to go through that. And then we'll move to the next step, which is step 5. And now I would like you to identify one action item from that pool of things that are in your control that you think is doable for you this week or next. You just have to pick one of them. And if people are comfortable, if someone wants to type in the chat, what is that action item that they think they're going to pick next week to pursue? Feel free if you're comfortable typing that. All right. And now we can go to the next slide, where I would like folks to take the poll again and tell me from beginning or before you join the session, how likely were you to pursue this goal of yours or that one action item on a scale of 1 to 10? One more time. Wow, so this time I'm seeing a few in tens. All right, awesome. If we can go to the next slide. Thank you everyone for participating in this clarity workshop and also listening to my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Here are several ways you can connect with me. There's Insta handle. I have my website, possibilitieswithin.com, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You have my phone number, my email. And now I'm taking a look at the questions that people have posted. So the first question is from Colette. What beliefs or assumptions did you have to unlearn during your journey from logic to alignment? How has your definition of success changed since bracing alignment? Well, My beliefs and assumptions were that there are people around me who know better about me or who know what is better for me than myself. The one thing that has changed is over the years, I learned what does it mean when you let others decide for you. Because for my life, I think for a very good part of my life, I had outsourced all the big decisions of my life to people around me who I trusted. And it's not that they wanted, not they didn't want me to grow and be successful or everything. They had good intentions, but I think they operate differently. They have a very different compass of what success means to them, and I had a very different compass of what it means for me. For me, it was alignment, which I realized once I took my own decisions in my hands and started following. And and over again, I saw that whenever I'm doing something that I'm enjoying doing, that I feel excited about, everything started to fall in place for me in the outside world. So to me, it was very clear from the last few years that if your gut tells you go with it, that's where you should go. You have to make peace with mind, though, sometimes, because you can't just, not give the mind the space it needs. You have to keep it aligned, and that means mind, body, and energy. So that includes mind as well. If we leave the mind behind and try to pursue a goal, it backfires on you because mind would play its own games. You can't leave the mind behind. So I think one thing that I have learned is if you want something to do at the core, you should, but you have to make sure that you address the mind as well. You can't force the mind because it backfires on you so bad. My definition of success is happiness, joy. Am I present in life? Am I enjoying things? Am I enjoying my life with my loved ones? That is what success is to me. And the next question is from Hannah Joseph. How did I overcome the fear of uncertainty or judgment when choosing a different path? It was very hard, Hannah. I wouldn't say that my gut told me and I decided and it was all great. No, it was a very hard path to walk. There was anxiety, there was fear, and what I did was I made use of all the resources, my support system I had around. I took help of my therapist. I took help of my partner, people, and my support system, people who were really vested in my well being and my success. So I made sure I fully utilized my support system and had faith that this would work out. I'm not saying it's easy, it was very difficult, but I think yoga and meditation held my hand through these tough times. The next question is from Mariana Antovo. During your journey from logic to alignment, what did you discover about your true values or purpose? My true value, purpose, I think my true value and purpose was to be of service to people around me. And I was very good at asking questions. I remember a lot of years ago when all this life coaching and all was not at all in sight at all. I remember sitting and chatting to one of the gentlemen next to me, and they were talking to me about they had to run a marathon or something, and they were telling me about it. And I was asking them this question that are you doing this for yourself and are you doing that for your family? And they told me, that's a good question. So, and I think even at my workplace, my 20 years of corporate life, I was known to be a troublemaker because I would ask questions that would question the status quo. So I knew that I was good at questions, and I really looked at why are we doing what we are doing, right? So those are my true values and purpose, that I seek clarity in why we are pursuing something. And I do want people around me to see that. If I see that, or if it's not clear, I want to question it more, and I want people to come to a place where they can see that why they are going in the direction they are going. Next question is from Jane. How did you learn to listen to your inner voice or intuition instead of external expectations? I would say, Jane, that yoga and meditation had a lot to do with it. I have been practicing yoga and meditation for around 10 years now. I think it was my second child who brought that aspect of spirituality into my life. And I think one would think that how doing these daily practices or doing yoga meditation can bring more clarity. But I have firsthand experience that even though these practices is something I'm doing in the morning, I'm disciplining my body, and it starts changing your subconscious mind at a subtle level. I can't give you a map of if I'm doing this practice, this is how it's doing it, but I think it gives you enough time with your body, yourself. You know how when most people I hear who are trying to do meditation are having a tough time is because thoughts come to them. But I have seen over the years that when you sit in the meditation, the first thought that's going to come is the thing that has been bothering you, but you have been avoiding it. And that's how I have learned that if this is the thought that's bothering me, this is something I need to address. So when I get out of the meditation, I knew that these were the thoughts that are still coming to my meditation. That means these are the things that I haven't addressed yet, and I need to address them. Next question is, what practices such as reflection, mentorship, mindfulness helped you find alignment with your authentic self? I think it was my anxiety and my body that helped me find it, because I was forcing it for the longest time, and I was following the voice of my mind for the longest time. There were a lot of times where there was a thing I wanted to do, but the voice of the mind would always come, the voice of the logic would always guide my way, and I was letting it do that. But I think a time came when I had seen enough that what is the price my body pays, my mental health pays, when I let the mind get away, always with its ways. So a point came when I was like, okay, I have tried the voice of the logic enough. Now let me try the voice of my gut. Let me go by what my gut is saying, and let me see where it leads me. And every single time I have listened to my gut, it has led me to places I have loved, I have enjoyed. And so that has been my compass from that time. And that is my compass today, day to day, from small things to big things, from having coffee or tea today, a small decision like to have coffee or tea, or deciding my breakfast, or deciding what the vacation destination is, or going to a place, meeting a person or not. That's my compass, that how is my body feeling about it? And my body has never proved me wrong. All right. How do you say no politely to unnecessary suggestions? Well, I think it's good to hear what the suggestion is. It could be that you may not have tried that suggestion before, so it might be worth trying. Or if you have tried, I think it's good to share with the person, because I'll tell you that even though we all live in the same house, me, my husband, my kids, we all are different personalities. So something that works for me may be a great suggestion for me, may not be a great suggestion for my husband or my son or my friend, because we all are a unique combination of mindsets, beliefs, blocks, you name it, right? So, in my experience, one good suggestion is not good for everyone. Like, let's take the example of yoga meditation. I am a yoga meditation person, but I know so many people who say that no, sitting at one place doesn't work for them, it drives them nuts. But for me, running on a treadmill is what drives me nuts. So there's no one answer for everybody, and there is no one suggestion or a way of doing things that could work for everybody. One size doesn't fit all. So it's always good to hear the suggestion and see that, truly see that, is this you? Is this suggestion speaking to you? And if not, you can say, I think just be honest about that, how it doesn't work for you because you have tried, but this is not the person you are. And in that way, you are being honest with the person. You are considering their suggestion. You're not dismissing them. So, and you are approaching it from a place of understanding and honesty and being present. So, I think then, and the more honest you are, the other person would see that too, that, you know, you're being honest about what you're saying. And I think that always works, and people understand that it's genuine, and you're not trying to dismiss them. But when you share the reason, it helps them see why the suggestion is not good for you, rather than feeling like their suggestion is being dismissed. All right. Any other questions or anything else?
Yes, so Jaspreet, thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. It is very informative. And thank
Thank
you
you.
for answering all the questions in the chat box. I hope our audience got the answers. And yeah, and please be on the backstage and join the next session, Jaspreet.
All right, sure. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for your valuable time.
Thank you.